like taking photos of him. Wow. Dad, look at this.
Can you sound like one so they can come back?
He reminded me of that guy.
Another one on up further.
Under the tree.
Yep.
I need you to come out of the shade, buddy. I need her to hit
A mother opossum can also carry its babies. Now guess how many babies an opossum can carry? I hear 2. Okay, so they don't just have 1. They don't have 2. They have about 13. He has ears, right? Or little horns. But those are literally just little feathers on the top of his head that he is able to raise and lower depending on how he's feeling. Whether he is feeling scared or frightened, alert, or active. So it just depends on how they are feeling. Now these are one of the larger species of owls that we can find in our very own backyard in Texas. You can see their coloration helps night. So in this case, this species of owl, what it will do is that it will go to sleep during the day for 20 minutes and then wake back up for maybe 10 minutes, go back to sleep for 30 minutes and then wake back up. And they do that on and on and on during the day.
Are you getting out?
You guys are going on the video now.
Don't do it. We made it.
Yay.
Are you drinking water? Just one water in the wagon. Why don't you go look at animals? So he can take water.
That big is like the size of a grown-up cat. I want it. All I do is I want it.
These are actually one of my favorite.
I don't know where Kenya is.
They're over there.
We are. What are we doing here? We're not climbing.
Here.
Circling around the outside.
I'd wait till he got here. Is he here with the ice cream?
You feeling better here? Yeah, they say it looked like Wayne. Yeah. And the Lexus shop in spring, yeah.
All right, that's up my alley. Okay, right next door.
Known each other for a few years. We're not going to say but for a few.
But we have really fun jobs,
Yes.
and government positions, and we have to do things for people, and then we get to sometimes do
We
fun
get
things.
to do things. We get to. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes not so much.
So this is a fun one.
Yes.
So we're excited that y'all are here, and we're really excited that Melissa's here. And this is Dan.
Nice to meet you, Dan. Nice to meet you. Well, Lucretia reached out to me last week and said, how do I get a recognition? And I said, well, you talk to Whitney, you do this, you do that, and then she calls me back and she says, can you come and do the presentation? I was like, okay. So I'm here on behalf of the city of Fort Worth. Never would have thought I'd be saying that, but on behalf of the city of Fort Worth and on behalf of our wonderful new mayor, Maddie Parker, I would like to present the certificate of recognition for the Gladney's in America Day in Fort Worth, Texas. Well, then in that case, I have to get my glasses out. I also hit 50 a year or two ago. So hold on, let me grab my glasses and I'll go read it. Or one pair of my glasses, because you know, I can't just have one pair. All right. Whereas descendants of Richard II and Jane Wilson Gladney were established in November 7, 1977 in South Carolina as a nonprofit organization and have members registered throughout this country, including Fort Worth, Texas. And whereas Gladney reunions are held annually and are important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our families and communities, ensuring the health and well-being of all family members attending, and contributing to the history and tourism of the Gladney community, region, and state throughout our country. And whereas the Gladneys recognize the benefits of the Gladney Center for Adoption in Fort Worth through their resources to many American families and the policies established by Edna Gladney's efforts in Texas legislation for adoptees' rights and her dedication in establishing better resources. Whereas the last Gladney reunion held in Fort Worth was in July of 1990, which was just like 2 years ago, right? Yeah. And Gladney's in America are delighted to visit again in their 44th year with 62 family members traveling from as far as California, I'm guessing California over here, and South Carolina. Where's South Carolina? There we go. For the gathering held July 22nd, 2021 to July 25th, 2021. And whereas Gladney reunions in Fort Worth increase the community's economic prosperity through increased tourism in the local historical museums and numerous entertainment venues, hotel and restaurant revenues. And whereas our Gladney reunions enhance the genealogical roots of our historical family, connections, and communities, and provide a place for children and adults to connect with other family members hosted by Fort Worth family members and relational citizens. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Fort Worth that July 24th, 2021 is recognized as Gladney's in America Day in Fort Worth, Texas. Signed, Mayor Maddie Parker.
Truly honored. Thank you.
You are most welcome.
And thank the mayor for it.
I certainly will. I certainly will. I'm sure I'll see her sometime next week.
Great.
All right. You are most welcome. Y'all enjoy your visit.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This will be this summer.
Yes. Oh, yes, most definitely.
So everyone can see it before you leave.
Good. Wish you could.
Okay, thank you.
Take a picture of it.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
All right. How neat is that, guys? All of you over here, and I want to put it over where we have a chance to look at it. I don't really want to put it on the table where there's food and drinks, so we'll put it over there. And these people here, we'll have it all weekend. Thank you. Director, how many positions she's had? Her last position was the editor for the Gladney Group. So our appreciation to Kathy Newman, if she will come get this.
Oh,
You lucky girl.
I'm gonna flip you for it.
That's okay. That's all right. You see those crease lines? That's where I folded it because I was going to sneak this out.
She told me that earlier, and I just don't think she knew it was her.
I did not. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Everything you do.
She needs a Gladney Reunion picture. You know how that is.
Okay. All right, I'm done.
Dan, one other thing. For any of you who have never been to the Winsboro area where the cemetery is, there is an aerial view over by the door. There's a poster type thing. You did frame. Yep. You can flip it around. One of them is an aerial view of the actual family cemetery. The other one is, we had a gentleman come in with the sonar and marked graves that had no headstones, so we know exactly where everything is in the cemetery. And there's also a printout of that. So anyone wants to take a look at that.
And we'd love for you to come see it in person next year.
Yes.
Come see the cemetery. It is.
Was at my table.
It hadn't been for our
No, you ain't got nothing but.
Morning.
Good morning.
No, they're electric.
everyone along, right next to those steps.
The step there.
He's going to the steps.
Taking you out. That's where that bull stands.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, he's standing. That's where that bench is for, so you get your.
I got it.
Look, I got him. Why? Money? What's up?
All right, you're tired.
Yeah. This is drinking water. I see that.
Oh, and you won't worry.
Now you're lying. Doing that a time or two. Oh, well, there's two ways to get down. You can get down like that, little girl did, or I can get the slap.
Charge the battery.
Well, it might be a.
So give us a yeehaw.
Hey, Pam? What? He said,
Give us a yeehaw.
I need something louder.
oh, well, I can be super loud.
Well, go for it. Sorry, Al.
He loves rodeo and never seen a rodeo.
Got him! Come on, boys! Oh!
Carol.
I really wanted to.
Look at that.
I don't know about this.
It's just $10 to get your tickets to the Coliseum box office right after the parade.
Josie, right here. See the parade? Go here.
Bougie, you want to come see?
Please give it up for a very cute entertainment, our stilt walker. You got a long way to go. Well, please welcome our parade Grand Marshal of the Cadillac. He is the Grand Marshal of the 15th Annual National Day of Cowboy, American Cowboy. Marisa Wayne is the youngest of the 7 Wayne children. She loves all things Western and is a huge fan of Fort Worth and the American Cowboy. She's a mother of 2 sons to the John Wayne Cancer Foundation, which funds groundbreaking cancer research, educates surgical oncologists, and supports the Block and Blaze program. She happily serves as one of the Wayne family ambassadors and many awards who have served and continue to serve in the U.S. military. She is an honorary Green Beret and the North Dallas Columbia, South Carolina chapter. Along with the rest of the Wayne family, she is so happy to be a part of the historic Footwear Stockyard. Miss Anita lives in Orange County, California, and we're so thankful to have her here today with her husband of 41 years, Tim, her 4 children, and 2 grandchildren. For more information about the John Wayne Cancer Foundation, go to johnwayne.org. Again, that's johnwayne.org. Right along with the new split of the Little Duke. You can join in every Thursday morning at 10:30 for a reading of the Little Duke Children's Book Series with John Wayne, An American Experience.
So much. Okay, coming through now, one of my favorite Stockyard Stable, where you can go straight out on the river. And then, oh my, I have been waiting on this. Ladies, is there anybody here who likes firemen? I got that man raised. Representing the historic Countdown Coliseum. The Countdown Coliseum proudly hosts the Stockyard Championship Rodeo every Friday and Saturday night. And today we've got a special rodeo, 2 o'clock today. It's going to be absolutely incredible, so make sure you join us for that. And today and tonight we've got Sophia, a rising country music star. Sophia Luttrell, look her up. Great stuff. Now, the next truck is followed by roving extraordinaire Kent Weaver and his daughter Cody Ann Weaver, who is an amazing trick rider. Those guys are crazy what they can do on the horse. Countdown Coliseum, next in line, we've got C.J. Reed hauling a Texas Longhorn named Wild. Looks like it. Stop by the box office and you can get your tickets for today's special that day rodeo performance. And well, tonight there's a rodeo too, 7:30 p.m. And you just see a train going by. Well, that is our sister station, 92.1 AFM. Great country music. Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame. They are on for over 150 lotteries who represent the best in rodeo, ranch, business, agriculture, and entertainment in the heart of the Fort Worth Stockyard. So, riding on their vintage wagon today is District 2's favorite city councilman, Carlos Flores. Accompanying him is the veteran minister, reigning queen
the Miss North Texas High School Rodeo Association, and Ashton Burley, the reigning princess of the Miss North Texas Rodeo Foundation. They're exhibiting their new make way for the Lions Pink Horse. He is representing the American Pink Horse Association. This is the world's second largest international equine breeding association. Right here in downtown. So yeah, this is the next Skyline International headquarters in Mule Alley. Just past Big Rod's Pink Horse statue. And then check out the retail store. The Pink Horse store is really cool. Pink Horse here and a whole lot more. And who knows, you might just run into the Pink Horse Jeep. And I think his brother is Mr. Ed, so we might have something to say to him. Okay, it's now time to salute. Take your now. We have got Marine Color Guard coming through. The Marine
About 2 or 3 more minutes and they will everything that you want to go. Don't be shy. No, you don't be the first one. No. Huh? Yeah, okay. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start with this table and go first.
You want to come down here first? Y'all have, yeah, you have napkins on your table. I mean, you can get some. Yeah, start down.
Things we couldn't do. So we started looking at our bylaws of how to address that. Also, everyone would agree that we would have the reunion in Winsboro every other year. And some said, well, it's in the bylaws. Well, it wasn't. It will be after tonight, hopefully. So, the bylaws are, the original bylaws are written here. I'm going to read you the sections of the amendments that we're proposing. And they're voted on by all the descendants of Thomas, Richard, and Samuel. So if you're a descendant, you're married to a descendant, or you're adopted to a descendant, or they claim you as your own, you can vote. Okay? Nothing special about it. So anyway, I'm going to go through these one at a time so you understand each one. The very first one is Article 5, Section 4, which states the Board of Directors shall meet at least one time each year at the same time as the annual meeting of the corporation. A majority of directors shall constitute a quorum. So going back to last year, we couldn't meet. The bylaw said we have to. So the amendment is going to address how we're going to do that. The amendment says the same thing that I just said. The amendment includes that first statement. The Board of Directors shall meet at least one time each year at the same time as the annual meeting of the corporation. A majority of directors shall constitute a quorum whenever adverse conditions, including but not limited to severe weather, national health advisories, or national travel restrictions prevent the Board of Directors from meeting as mandated by this section. The Board is authorized to satisfy this requirement by alternative means of communication. The Board of Directors may utilize any communication method that will clearly convey an understanding of topics discussed and voted upon by all directors present and voted. These methods of communication may include email, teleconference, or any method agreed upon by the Board of Directors for each situation. Do you have any questions about that particular amendment? Okay, keep that in mind, because we're going to vote all of them at one time. Next one is Article 9, Section 2. To be eligible to serve as an officer or director, one must be a member. You're a descendant, you're a member. Unless otherwise disqualified from serving, the vice president shall automatically become the president for the 2-year term following his service as vice president. We're changing several things now. Number one is his service, because it's not always a his. The amendment states this. To be eligible to serve as an officer or director, one must be a member. Unless otherwise disqualified, unable to serve, or is not willing to serve as president for any reason, the vice president shall automatically become the president for a 2-year term following their service as vice president. Whenever both the president and vice president positions are vacant, the board shall elect members to fill both positions according to Article 5, Section 5. What that means is, remember I said that the vice president automatically becomes president at the end of a 2-year term. They serve concurrent positions, terms. Vice president served 2 years, president served 2 years. The president leaves, president position is vacant. The vice president says, I don't want to be vice president. Both positions become vacant. So this article allows the directors to vote both a vice president and a president. Questions on that? I like y'all. The next one is Article 10, which is meetings. Section 3 states, at all meetings of the membership of the corporation, 10% of the membership as shown on the records of in their own right shall constitute a quorum. If you're there, 10%. If 10% of all the body is here, we have like 180 members or something. 292. If we got 30 of you. Okay, so the amendment says, the Board of Directors shall determine the city or county location for the annual meeting to coincide with the Gladney Family Reunion held each year during the last weekend of July. The board shall apply diligence to hold the annual meeting in Gladney Family Reunion in or close to Winsboro, South Carolina, every 2 years. Whenever adverse conditions, including but not limited to severe weather, national health advisories, national travel restrictions, and any other unfavorable circumstances prevent the annual meeting in Gladney Family Reunion to be held, the president shall seek counsel from the board of directors on the course of action and make a determination on either to cancel or postpone the reunion. The annual meeting shall be held as outlined in Article 5, Section 4, Amendment A. That's what I just read to you. That we could do it by telephone. If a Gladney Family Reunion is either canceled or postponed, the board of directors shall determine the date and location of the reunion. The reason that that particular amendment is in there is because we've had, everybody knew we were going to go to Winsboro every 2 years. Now it will be in the bylaws that we will do diligence to have it in Winsboro every 2 years. It's never written out, but we all understood it. Questions? Y'all are getting on my good side. Okay. I think that's it. Told it's going to be painless. So, since everybody here can vote, I'm going to ask yeas and nays. Show of hands. All yeas.
All yeas.
Okay, how about nays? Anybody against? All right, they're passed. We have a pen. I didn't bring a pen. I didn't come prepared. That's a sharp.
You want me to go get one?
I have a pen.
We have a pen. You're going to witness Secretary Dan Gladney and I are going to put our legal signatures on these amendments. We will then give them to Secretary. It will file them in the state of South Carolina. I'm sorry, Dale. Thank you. All right. All done. That was good. Appreciate it. Okay. Y'all are going to notice that Ann Gladney, the secretary, just signed, but I'm having the time. I'll explain. The president serves for 2 years, the vice president serves for 2 years. We have directors that serve 3-year terms. We have treasurer, the historian that's there forever. That's wild. And treasurer, secretary. So this year was unusual because we didn't get to elections last year, and we voted. The board did just maintain all positions through 2020 until 2021, and then we would fill all the positions. So for the past 3 years, we all don't know. My name's Dan Campbell, by the way. I'm sorry. I've been the president. The vice president has been Janice. There's Janice. She's vice president. Dan Gladney, secretary. Terry, where's Terry? Oh, there's it. Terry was our treasurer until 2 years ago? Yeah. 2 years ago. So we didn't get a chance to introduce our new treasurer, who is Amy Wilson. There's Amy. That's who you send your money to. And we had 3 directors. We had Judy Whitesell, there. And then we had Connie Adams and Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson's there. So we have elected everybody today. So your new president for the next 2 years is John Bice right here. Our vice president is somebody that, if it hadn't been for that individual, a lot of this would never have come together. It was Lucretia Alvarez. Our new secretary is Connie Adams. And our 3 directors now are Kathy Newman, Judy Whitesell, and Tim Johnson. They rotate. The original bylaws were written when the first directors were elected. There was one for 1 year, one for 2 years, and one for 3 years. So when their term came up, when that term was up for the one that spent 1 year, it's now a 3-year term. It's 2 years, it's now a 3-year term. When theirs came up, 3 years, another 3-year term. That gave a rotational cycle, so you don't always have the same people sitting in those positions. So we had to kickstart, this year. That's why every position was filled today. So everybody's good with that. The bylaws are official. Connie has them. And let's see what we got next. I'm just going to comment about this right now. What? We will. I got it. Okay. We have discussed, just among the directors, we are going to look into, it's not for certain, of possibly putting a time capsule together to be buried at, or placed at the Winsboro Cemetery, Gladney Cemetery in Winsboro. That is not written in stone yet. We have some individuals that are going to be looking into possibility of that. And if it does happen, hopefully it does, then we're going to be sending out information in the Gladney Gram, emails, asking for something that you would like to put in that time capsule. Terry has already given me a small tractor and a Missouri refrigerator. Okay, as I said today,
it represents the state of Missouri. That's what it represents,
right.
The state of Missouri.
It represents you.
Yep.
So when we look for those things, we're going to look for something that represents you that will fit inside a capsule.
No, it's not.
Stated today, I don't want to wear your old cowboy boots. They're not going to fit. Something small. Okay, let's see what we got. I've already introduced the officers, but one of our traditions to have everybody introduce themselves. Now, I'm not going to ask every individual to stand up, but if you could have a representative from a particular family to say, I'm here, I'm in Richard's line, I'm in Samuel's line, I'm in Thomas's line, where you're from. And I want to start, let's start at the left. Yeah, I want to go last. Okay.
I'm from the
Stand up.
Lucretia Lomax Alvarez, and I'm from the Lomax family, with the Meadows and Dudleys, but we go back to the Samuel line.
And you're all from what area?
East Texas. What?
Don't you live in Greenville?
She lives in Greenville.
Okay.
We were born in Longview, and then I went to TC one year, so I was a froggy for a year. But then I eventually moved to Austin. So Austin is known for being weird, keep it weird in Austin, okay? And then I also lived at Lake Travis, and Lake Travis has the sunset capital of Texas at the Oasis. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And Austin is also known for UT, the Longhorns. Hey. Longhorns. I didn't go there, but I taught there for 10 years. But even when I taught there for 2 years, I never wore any burnt orange. I still wore purple for TCU, even though I graduated from a red school, red and white. And now I live in Elgin, Texas, just 19 miles east of a weird place, Austin. And Elgin is the sausage capital of Texas and the brick capital of the Southwest. We have 3 or 4 brick companies, just about 10 miles from my house. But it's an honor to be here. This is my third reunion. First one was 20 or 25 years ago. I hardly remember it. But I went 2 years ago and met all these wonderful cousins that I didn't even know I had. And what a pleasure it's been meeting new cousins. This is my husband, Greg. He says it's time for me to sit down.
Next table? No, she introduced the whole family.
John.
Okay, I'm sorry. John. I'm sorry, John.
I've got one of those unusual names. I'm John Gladney. I was your first president of the group 37 years ago in 1976. I would not have been president except I knew the lady that wrote the book, the very first one. She signed it and her husband signed it. Mildred, Gladney, Arnold, and Tom Arnold. And I'll tell you this, I would not have been president if Wally had been there because he's the historian, I'm not. This is my wife, Marilyn. We live in the big city of we used to live in Narrows. We live in Winder, Georgia. Some people call it Winder, but it's Winder. Like you wind it up. We have a son and a daughter, Philip and Lee, and our son Philip has 3 boys. So when we get together, we have the 5 Gladney boys in our family. So anyway, I'm 82, so I may not be here too many more times. Anyway, we have thoroughly enjoyed all the different reunions, and I have seen more country. And I'm so proud of where all our Gladneys live because I've never been to that part of Missouri. I have never been to this part of Texas except going through on 20, northwest, and all over. And I had never been to Winsboro, and when I was elected, we lived in Greenville, about 40 miles away. So anyway, it's great being here and great seeing you, great meeting so many of our good cousins. All of you.
I'm John Bice. I'll be your new president. This is my wife Lucy, and we're both descendants of Richard Gladney. And this is our 4th meeting, I believe, since we've been coming. We've only been married 4 years, so I probably wouldn't have. I knew I had some Gladney ancestors, but was not that familiar with the Gladneys or the organization. When we married, Lucy has been very active with her DAR group and has done a lot of genealogical research on her family. And so she has brought me up to speed on the Gladneys. And so I'm very honored that the directors asked me to serve as president. In this short time, I haven't earned my wings or anything like that, but and I really wouldn't have felt comfortable accepting, but I know we have such quality people on the board of directors, and I just respect them tremendously. The past presidents, Dan, thank you, and Wally, and everybody, Dan, and anyone else, even the original president. So I know I have a lot of good people that I can call on and ask for assistance, and everybody else on the board. So look forward to trying to put together a good 2022 meeting back in Winsboro, and I'll be trying to catch up with just everything that goes on with the organization. There's a lot that I haven't learned. This was my first board meeting today, and just all the business that was discussed was really enlightening, and so be glad to look forward to getting to know all of you better. Hope to see you next year. Thanks so much.
I'm Mike Hassel, and this is my wife Beth. And my connection with the Gladneys is a niece, Alveda Gladney, was my grandmother on my dad's side. And this is our second reunion to attend. We went to one back in '02 at the urging of William Cody Gladney, or Bill as I knew him. And even though Bill came to our wedding in '77, I didn't really know him very well. And then my dad passed away in the early part of '02. And Bill, I got to know Bill. He made a shadow box with all my dad's service medals and ribbons from World War II in Korea. And Bill urged us to go to the reunion back then. Originally, we were going to drive him, but he was just too sick. He couldn't come. So, and it wasn't much longer than near the end of '02 that he passed away. And I was glad to know him during the short time that I did know him. I wish I'd known him longer. I knew of him, but so anyway, that's why we're here, and we've really enjoyed meeting a bunch of relatives that I wasn't aware of. So that's been fun. We've enjoyed it very much.
Hey, I'm Amy Wilson, and Lucretia is my first cousin once removed. I think that's how that works. And Lucretia's mom, my great aunt Billie, she did a lot of research, and I was trying to get into the DAR, and so use a lot of her information, and that's kind of how I got connected to this family organization. And and actually it was Ben Bowser's daughter, my cousin Jenny Lynn, I think second cousin. She did all the work to help us get into the DAR and all that. And then I have 4 kids that are here over there, and that's my mom and my aunts. We have a lot of family here because we live in Texas. I live in West Houston.
I'm Wally Gladney from, well, Weedaway, Alabama, I guess, but Shirley and I just got married a couple of weeks ago, and she's from LaGrange, Georgia, but lives in Roanoke, Alabama now, where we live. We also have a home in Weedaway, which is Randolph County. Most of you that are Samuel ancestors came through Randolph County and lived in Weedaway between 1831 and 1895. I finished high school there. I'm part of the 6th generation of Gladneys there, and there's an old Gladney cemetery there that I moved back clean. I know there's 61 graves in it, but I only know 21 of them, so I don't know who the other 40 are. But it's a Gladney, Lyles, Young family cemetery. And I came back there, found it on Find a Grave, and it's listed on our website, the last cemetery on there. And anyway, it's right within the block or so of where I live, where my house is in Wedowee. And but Shirley and I met a couple of years ago after I was married 55 years, lived in Lexington, Kentucky, all during the time of attending Reunion since '77. And hadn't been to all of them, but I have 3 daughters in their 50s and 45-year-old, 6 grandchildren, all in Houston or Cincinnati or Lexington, Kentucky, and or Knoxville, Tennessee. And but back in the day when the Gladneys and the Youngs and the Panels, I understand, and the McCains and all came through Randolph County, Alabama, and lived there, and they were all farmers or pottery. They were in the pottery business. They each had 17 to 20 children by one wife. And so there's about half of them are girls. So there's a lot of cousins all over that county, and they're still there. I can name 30 or 40 surnames that I've found in that county since I moved back. And so it's an interesting place. One day, if we ever get a motel in that county, I would like to have a reunion. The biggest motel in Wedowee has 16 rooms, and they're not worth staying in. It's the county seat. There's one in Roanoke, and this Patel fellow from India owns it, and I think he's got about 35 rooms, but I don't think that could accommodate, he has other clientele. So we're getting a lot more people there now, and so maybe if we get a Holiday, I don't think a Marriott's going to rank it there. Maybe a Holiday Express, we'll have a reunion there one day. And it's real close to the Georgia line, if you don't know where Wedowee, Alabama, or Randolph County is. So Tanya's just over the Georgia line there, no more than 20, 21 miles from there. Kathy and Jimmy is over there in Newman, and it's not more than 40 miles or 50, I think. So we're 80 miles from Atlanta. We could fly in there or go into Birmingham at 70 miles or something like that. We even have an airport in Roanoke.
We do?
Yeah, we do, but I don't think there's a tower. So it's small, rural, and we just love to have everybody over there one of these days, and they can see. You see, the people at Gladney is buried in that cemetery. I've found 9 Civil War veterans. Now, of all the historical stuff that I've dealt and all that, I've never found a Gladney that fought on the Yankee side. Okay. Anybody knows of one? I'd like to hear about it. But the only people I know of in the Gladney clan that we count lives in the north, now that I've moved back to Kentucky, is Betty Bond. And they live in Pennsylvania. I visited them there. Her husband has Alzheimer's and so forth, so Betty don't feel like she can attend anymore. But is a very influential person in this organization, and was for many years, and was responsible, I believe, for bringing Tim and Jill and Tim's family in. I think that's right. And Betty was originally from Arkansas. I don't believe we have anyone here from Arkansas. I don't believe we have anyone here from Florida or or Louisiana. Do we have Louisiana people here? No, Louisiana. Now, all of these states, we've had previous attendees of the reunions. I'm not sure we have anyone here from Mississippi.
Yeah, they just left.
Yes, they
Okay, so anyway, it would be nice if we could, you know, keep on sending out the Gladney grants and getting them in many, many more years. And I would hate to see that thrown in the trash. So, that's about it. That's all I have to say.
Hi, I'm Judy Whitesell, Judy Gladney Whitesell. I grew up in Florida, so I am representing Florida. I'm also in the Thomas line, and you can tell by just the graphic you see in front of us, there's not a whole lot of us. I have one brother, I had one sister. Never knew anyone named Gladney growing up until I started coming to reunions. I'm a past president, a director, and we currently live in South Carolina, Edisto Beach and Columbia, which is not far from Winsboro. So my husband Jim, who's here with me today, and I care for the family cemetery in Winsboro.
I'm Terry Gladney Burkepper from the state of Missouri. Live north of St. Louis, out on the side of a hill. We have cows, so we know what they look like. We've been coming probably since the early 90s. Once our kids grew up, it was a little easier to get away. And I've been treasurer, I was president, and from the Richard line. And there were a lot of Gladneys because they follow from the Richard line. They follow Daniel Boone Trail to the state of Missouri. So there were quite a few at one time Gladneys in the state of Missouri. So if anybody wants to come up, and I'll put you out on the hill because I can see the state of Illinois.
Hi, I'm Janice Sankash. We live in Charleston. This is my husband George. We live in Charleston. I'm originally from North Carolina. I have 2 sons and 3 grandchildren. My paternal grandmother was Gladney, and her father, my great-grandfather, they had a general store in Alabama, and then they moved to Georgia. And I had a cousin, Gloria Epps. Some of you remember Gloria. She passed away with cancer. She was very active in the association, and she kept in touch with my mother. It was my dad who was Gladney, but she kept in touch with my mother after he passed away. So my mom had all the Gladney grams, and so that's how I said, okay, we'll start going to Winsboro. So it's been a great, it's a great group of people. And thank you, Dan and Dan and everybody for everything y'all have done over the years. All of you, it's just amazing. And it's great to have some new blood coming in. Thank you, John.
I'm Kathy Newman. This is my husband Jimmy, also known as the video dude. I'm a past president, vice president.
Gladney Ground.
Gladney Ground, yeah, and I'm also a director. Our first reunion was in 1998 in Carrollton, Georgia. It was hosted by Cecil and Polly Gladney, and that was the first time I met any Gladneys outside my immediate family. My grandmother was a Treadwell, and she married my grandfather, Marvin Gladney, in Newman, Georgia. We had 2 sons, Adam and Kevin. Adam, unfortunately, was killed in a car wreck several years ago. But we haven't missed a reunion since the 1998 reunion. We even went to the one that was canceled that was in Memphis, Tennessee. We left home before all the weather turned bad and the tornado went through Memphis, and half the city had electricity and half did not. So of course, we were on the side that did not have electricity. So we just turned around and we were just going back home. And I get a call on our bag phone in the car. And Betty Bond is on the phone and she says, we have two sisters at a hotel in Memphis and they came all the way from California and I don't want them to leave without meeting a Gladney. Would y'all go back? Would y'all go back and meet these two sisters? So we turned around and went back to their hotel and we, stayed several hours with them and looked at their pictures. But they've been to a few reunions. They don't come regularly, but we love them anyway. So we'll see all of y'all in Winsboro next year, right?
Yes. And I would like to say one thing too. I've been putting the videos onto YouTube since 2013. And if you want to see them, just go to youtube.com, click on the little magnifying glass that says search, and type in Gladney videos, one word, no spaces. And it'll bring up my page with all the different videos on there. Okay, so make sure to subscribe and make sure to smash the bell. If you don't, a centipede will crawl up in your bed and sleep with you at night, so you got to do that. And so. You have to know YouTube to know what all that means, but okay.
My name is Tim Johnson. This is my son Tim. We're from Stanford, Kentucky. We're on the Samuel line. And that's it.
Well, since I'm next, I will go ahead and give him some accolades. He is also the database organizer. So, and he does a very good job of it. My name is Tony Adams. I'm from Franklin, Georgia. And, well, really and truly, the metropolitan area of Franklin is called Central Hatchie, Georgia, from the Samuel line. My great-great-grandmother was Mary Elizabeth Gladney, who married James Kennard Adams, and she was his second wife. His first wife died in childbirth. Right quick, in case we don't know who all was past president, if you're a past president, please stand, just for a second. Past presidents, please stand, because we didn't recognize all of us. And that includes me, by the way. And that's all. I'm the new secretary. Looking forward to serving in that capacity. Big thanks to Dan. He was secretary for a very long time, and he emailed me a few months ago and said he was ready to give up the reins and wondered if I would do it, and I said yes. So I'm looking forward to serving as your secretary in the future, and we hope to see you in Winsboro, and you can get to see all the historic sites. That is the purpose for this organization, and that's why we have this reunion, is because of the links that we have to a widow and her 3 sons who decided to make a new life for themselves in the United States, what was in the colonies. So we hope to see y'all next year. Your turn. It's your turn.
It's my turn. I'm Debbie Meadows Kirkendall. I'm from Longview, Texas. If you were born in Longview or around Longview, raise your hand. I'm related to all these folks. Many of them first cousins. Yes, Longview is known for a few things like the Great Texas Balloon Race. It was started by a dentist in our community. We have Laterno Manufacturing, which is now Komatsu. We have Texas Eastman Chemical. And many of you may have known my father, our father. I have 2 sisters, Gwen Jones, and my sister Cindy Shelton. Our father was John Dudley Meadows. If you ever saw him at former reunions, he always had the black cap on that said World War II, Korea, Vietnam, because he served in all 3 of those wars, loved his country. He passed away 3 years ago in 2018, but he loved coming to these Gladney family reunions. And some of you saw him after he got all the bee stings one year, the day before he left town to go to Georgia. And he told the ER doctor, I can't stay in the hospital overnight. I've got to leave in the morning to go to a family reunion. And leave he did. He
Don't
lived
forget Laterno University.
Oh, yes, we also have
where
Laterno
your dad
University.
went to school and
Yes, and yes. But you know what really makes a community great is the people. And it's the same with this Gladney organization. It's the people who make it what it is. So, thank you for allowing us to come.
Just so you know, the ice cream's out over here, so it's let me melt it right there. Y'all want to grab some ice cream if you've already spoken, and just let it melt. Okay?
we voted you were doing
Yeah,
it.
he said the ice cream was ready.
We voted you were doing it.
Okay. I was going to do mine last because
Oh, you were waving at
some
us.
kids when I get home. My name is Dan Pound. I live in Lago Vista, Texas. And everybody, this is my wife, Marianne.
Really does have one.
And just to
Sit down.
I'm going to go around to the tables and introduce my family. This is my great niece, and she calls me great Uncle Danny. That's one thing you'll notice around here. I have several names, monikers, people say. You're hearing people called Dan, Danny, Granddan, Uncle Danny, and Great Uncle Danny. All in this room. I have number. Anyway, this is Crystal and her husband Vernon. They're from Temecula, California. Then I'm going to go back here. This is my niece, Stan, Delynn, who now goes by Kimberly. She is my, as you can tell, she's my favorite niece.
What's your favorite niece? Wait, what?
You're the great niece.
Okay, all right. I'll take it.
Niece.
Yeah, she lives in Alito. She lives in Alito, Texas. And my sister, she's my sister's daughter. Okay. This is what this young lady here. She is my, I refer to her as my number one because she is the one that made me granddad. She lives in Burleson, Nashville, Burleson, somewhere. This is my son. He also lives in Burleson. The last time he got out of college, he said, "Who doesn't need 4 degrees?" I'm really proud of him and his accomplishments. He put you to sleep in that Oh, Cole is back here. Now, Cole's just a wee bit bigger than me. He's my oldest grandson. And guess where he goes to school and lives?
Georgia.
Texas. He lives in Lubbock. He goes to Texas Tech. Look him up, number 57. This is my daughter Kayla. Her fiance Milton. From Mansfield. Who do I have? I think that's all of my family. So I carried the weight through. This guy. You got to stand up. This is Cole's brother. This is Bo. He's 8 years old. He lives in Fort Worth.
Hey, Bo.
And one more. my other granddaughter, this is Hannah's sister, this is Haley, and she lives in Mansfield. I'm going to brag on her a little bit. The part of the Navy I was in, there's a scholarship fund, and 2 years ago, she got one of the two, what was it, scholarship, what's the name of it? The National Honor Scholarship in the Navy. She's one of 2 people in the country that's got it. So, I'm proud of all of that. All of all. Okay, I think that's all of them.
Well, I'm not a member of Dan's family, but after all that, I feel like my name is Ben Fowler, and I'm here with my wife Patricia, and we came all the way from Paris. Paris, Texas is a town of about 25,000 people. It's reported to be the second largest Paris in the world, and it has the 3rd largest Eiffel Tower. But our Eiffel Tower is a little bit different from the others. It's kind of unique because it's topped by a big red cowboy hat. And if you ever visit Paris, Texas, don't be surprised if you're welcomed by our standard greeting, which is bonjour, y'all. And as Miss Pearl would say, I'm just proud to be here.
I started coming with the Lord's Love Mass. The children or grandchildren here today, and my daughter is here with me, and my granddaughter, and my son-in-law. I love being knowing all my Okay, so Glenna Finnick, we're from Austin, my husband John, and we're Samuels.
I'm Ken Norris, my wife Janice, and my daughter Laura Watts from Mansfield, Texas. We're from Kilgore, Texas, home of the Rangerettes. We didn't know we were Gladneys until recently, and we got a lot of information from Glenna and Louise, and we been doing some research, and we're enjoying it and meeting everybody and finding out a lot of good things. So we're glad to be here.
I'm the middle sister of the Meadows girls, Gwen Jones, my husband Tom Jones. You've heard of him? His claim to fame now has been, 29 times to play Drosselmeyer in a local production at Tyler Junior College, which is very popular as Nutcracker Ballet. Now we're in Henderson County. You cross over that bridge going east, and then the rose capital of the world kind of takes over everything.
The what?
The rose capital of the world. In Tyler, Texas, with the Tyler roses. And that only started when all of the fruit crops were spoiled from a freeze back in the 30s, I believe. So they started growing root stock, as which they import more than roses. But in Chandler, we have the Texas Pecan Nursery, which you took the sample some of yesterday. But I'm the middle of the three, the wheel, the black sheep, the shortest. It's a hard job that somebody's got to do. Anyway, and my dad and I have the same blood type, and my husband claims to have the gift of gab like he did. But anyway, we're surrounded by we have family and all the Dudleys in Kilgore, and one of the claim to fame, also claim to fame Kilgore is not so much the Rangerettes, but Van Cliburn was from there. His parents moved from Shreveport. His mom, and during the oil boom, his mom taught Ben's mother
And she was up in, big families, and she finally, she was working and had some money she put in from this closet. And Lucretia's mother at one time took my sisters and my mom and probably y'all too, and we saw him perform in Tyler at the Caldwell auditorium. It used to also be related to Caldwell Zoo, which was free. It was wonderful. It's not any longer. But in Chandler, we have a lot of wonderful people. We've been there over half our lives, 68, almost 69, 69. Some taught wood shop and drafting, and like several of us cousins, I've taught dance and ballet and performed and choreographed Christian music. But now I know why I love clogging and tapping, jigging so much, and river dance. But we have no children, but as we would tell all the kiddos that we worked with for 30 years in the Nutcracker, they're all our children. We love y'all the same.
I'm Dan Gladney, and it's great to meet my Texas cousin. Y'all are great. We're from Georgia. This is my wife, Judy. Hey, Judy. And my sweetheart. And my sweetheart. This is my marvelous daughter, Ham, and our chauffeur for all week. We've been on a road trip. And our wonderful son-in-law, Scott, has stepped out, and we're proud to be with you. Like Wally, we have been, and John and Marilyn, we have been with this Gladney Reunion for 43 years. Wow. I think so. Yeah. 43 years. And it's marvelous every time we go and see wonderful cousins like you. This has been a great, great time together. Dan, thank you for putting this together. It was a great day. Golly, it was wonderful. But anyway, glad to meet you. Hope you enjoy everything, and I want to see you again. And if you can make it to Winsboro, well, we call it Winsboro. It's really just outside of Columbia. We stay in a place called Blythewood, I think it is. Blythewood, yeah. The hotel's there, but Winsboro is kind of a farming place, and it doesn't have the facilities that we need. So it's Blythewood, right out of Columbia. A lot of things to do in Columbia, and it's a great weekend. Hope you can come be with us. Okay? Love you, all of you.
Our guest speaker tonight is someone that I've known for years. We were in high school together, and then a few years before I retired, we worked together. And what I remember about her was she'd always come in and slam her fist on my desk and say, "What the heck are you trying to do?" She is, I love Mary like she's my own sister. And she has a connection to the Gladneys that she is going to share with you. And I don't know, just look at my heart, you know what I'm saying about her. She is just a fantastic. Thank you.
Also, Dan and I went to high school together, but we didn't know each other then. So, I am Marianne Wilson. I was born and raised in Fort Worth, and I have a real strong connection with Gladney. In fact, if it wasn't for Gladney, I wouldn't be the person I am today, or have the life that I have today. At 17, I found myself pregnant. My parents, in 1968, at 17, that just was not heard of. So you go away. They sent us to our aunt's house. Sometimes it's Aunt Edna. So, anyway, I ended up in Gladney. I think it was about April the 9th, May the 9th. And I was there in the dormitory. I was young, 17, so they had a dormitory. And down the road, they had another place they called the apartments for the older men. No older ladies. it was just a hideaway, you know, for us, because we didn't want to bring more shame to our family, or nobody wants to know about it. So here I am, 17, alone, and in the Gladney facility. There was counseling, I had a job, I got to clean the swimming pool, I learned how to play canasta, which has been something I really enjoyed all my life now. Gave up my baby that was born June 2nd, went back to home, was never spoken of again. No one ever spoke to me about that. So we fast forward through life. I get married. I have 3 wonderful children that we've raised. And when my daughters would be 21 years old, I called Gladney because I had read stories where people are reconnecting after years. I called Gladney and I asked them, where do you send people that want to connect or find out information? And they told me they had a registry. So when she was 21 years old, I registered with Gladney and had my counseling, which is a state requirement. And so it was just there. I thought if she wanted to find me, she could find me. When she was 30 years old, well, I'm working at the phone, not the phone company, at the government. I was sitting there and this lady was over there talking. She said she was looking for her last sibling. And I had some databases I'd subscribed to, and I said, maybe I could help you. And I said, shh, don't tell anybody, but I had a child I relinquished for adoption. That was terrible. So she told me there are ways to find your baby. You can go and find information at the library and stuff. So I started looking through the birth books, 4,000 pages, trying to find all the babies born on that day. Well, I called Gladney again. I said, there's got to be some place that you send people to look for their children, or the children find the parents, and I asked if they're, I can't remember exactly what I asked, but they said to me, you need to give us your updated medical history. And she said this 3 or 4 times in this conversation, and I just kind of blew it off because I didn't know what was going on. I just wanted to see how to get a hold of my child. And what happened was I called her back a few hours later. I said, what do you do with the updated medical history? She says, we are required by law to pass that on. So I knew that if my daughter was anything like me, and she got that information, she would come this direction. So it happened. We were writing letters back and forth for a short time because she had to get her counseling in also. And we've been in reunion for a long time, since she was 30 years old. It hasn't been wonderful all the time at all. It's been real. But what happened with that is I really developed a talent to be a searcher. I put adoptees and birth families together, and I've been doing that for over 20 years now, probably closer to 25. Of course, I specialized in Gladney because I knew how they worked. If I was born and raised in Fort Worth, that's where I live, my baby's going to be out like she was raised in Houston. So they send them off far enough away so there's not any close relations. So I learned a lot, and I've been working at being a searcher all these years. Gladney has given me that. I have so many stories you wouldn't believe. It's enriched my life 10 or 12, just more than you can imagine. Also, I was recognized as one of the top searchers in the United States in 2013, which was a great honor, and got to go to conferences and stuff, and it was really fun. I also went before the Texas House and Senate and testified for adoptees' rights. I think it's real important for adoptees to have access to their original birth certificate. When they're adopted, they don't get their original, they only get an amendment. So now I fight for that. For 2017 and 2019, those sessions, I went before the House and the Senate to testify for that. And that was a real important venture in my life, because now I'm on record in the state of Texas, which I love, as testifying. And I think it's a real important thing. You know, in 1968, you're here, and the whole world is so different. But, you know, I really thought Gladney did what they thought was best. As I've grown up, I can see the difference of how important it is to keep the parent and the child together. You can imagine. I mean, if there's some reason for it to be separated, that's one thing. But just because you're poor, just because you're young, doesn't mean that there's a real good reason for adoption. So they're doing a lot of family preservation. I haven't seen Gladney doing this, but other, like Butner and Dallas does it. They don't even do adoptions hardly at all anymore. And then I also heard that Gladney is doing a lot with foster kids. And that's a real important place to work, you know, and take care of these children that are already out there. So I just wanted to share that with you, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything I know. Anybody?
How many different adoptees have you helped to reunite with their
Thousands. Over 20 years. I mean, I have probably 3 in the works right now. I will probably always be a searcher. I tried to quit, but Dallas County opens records, and if the adoptee applies for their file, they get their name. So then I help them find. They refer everybody to me because I know I don't charge. I just do it as a gift to the world, and they know how good I am at it because I take care of the people. Not only matching them up, but getting them to the reunion process, trying to explain how this affects each other. So.
Is it the adoptees or the parents that normally seek you out?
Oh, it's either one. Either one. I can find almost every adoptee in the state of Texas because I know how it works. But birth families are different. And with the inception of DNA, that's really a game changer. So I use that a lot. And yes, sir.
Did you, you said state of Texas, did you associate or have an organization you're known about that does a similar thing in other states? Because we're from all over the South.
Well, there's a Facebook page called DNA Detectives. This was created by C.C. Moore. C.C. Moore is a top genealogist in the United States. She's the one that started the cold cases, the foundlings, and figuring that out, bringing people to justice. And she works on Who Do You Think You Are and different shows on TV. So it's just really interesting. But if anybody's looking, they can go to DNA Detectives. I'm called a search angel. There's thousands of us now, when before I was pretty much a lone ranger in some aspects.
And I have another follow-up, and I'm not sure how many people will be aware of this, but it's my understanding from what I've seen, both in the movie of Blossoms in the Dust, that we have copies of, which is about Edna Gladney, starting the Gladney Center in the early 1929 to 30. But the many visits that she went to the Texas legislature to get them to drop the word illegitimate from all birth certificates back in that day. That's what she was known for, and that's the reason the Gladney Center's there, right? she started it because of all of that.
I don't know why she started it.
Well,
I
it
thought she
says-
was helping,
It says it's because her cousin, I believe, committed suicide because she was adopted and she was to be married to some rich fella, and since she was adopted, that and her birth certificate said illegitimate, they refused their son to marry her. So she killed herself. That's what it says.
adoptees are 7 times more likely to commit suicide than any other section. It's kind of interesting. But that's, yeah, I knew she had taken the illegitimate. Any other questions?
So I want to ask you,
Sure.
what should an adoptive parent do to hopefully have something to present the child when the child's 18 or 21 that they were adopted?
Okay, I think a child should know from the get-go they're adopted and share any information you have from the very start, because I don't know about y'all. If I was adopted as a young child, and this has been told to me by other adoptees, they're laying in bed at night and they're thinking, if my own mother didn't love me, how can anybody else? And, you know, we were told to relinquish your child, give them a better life, give them 2 parents that will love them.
I ask this because my son just adopted a child. The child was born on July 15th this year, and they went through a fast process of going through the state and going through attorneys and everything. And I'm just wondering, you know, what is it gonna look like in the future when the child grows up, you know?
I think you should just have the information you have and share it. And if DNA is the game changer.
Yeah.
DNA changes it all. There's no more sealed records, just spit is not sealed. And it's made a lot of difference.
Yeah, just voicing so I can.
Yeah. But I don't think you should tell a child your mother gave you up because she loved you.
Right.
What mother would you love? That's just a real hard thing to process for a child. So, anything else?
Thank you, Mary.
Thank
I have, I'll take a few more minutes of your time. I have one last thing I want to share with you. Over 250 years ago, our Gladney ancestors left Ireland, came to South Carolina. But I want to talk to you about somebody else that lived during that same time. His name is John Newman. John Newman was a sea captain. He was hardened. He was vicious. He was cruel. He cared nothing about a human race unless he could profit them. On one of his voyages was a storm. He knew he was going to die. And he made a commitment that if he got out of that, he was going to change his life. He was true to his word, and in 1772, he wrote a song. One of the bibliographers that did research on John said that that particular song was performed over 10 billion times a year. I'm going to attempt this. I usually have time to warm up my pipes, but I didn't have a chance this afternoon, so hopefully they're going to work. Hopefully, also, you will recognize. it's time to another thing. And I'm sorry about Shannon was up center where it should be. I couldn't get to know, so I finally got it at the end.
You did, good.
Ice cream and cake, y'all.
Hey, Dan? Dan? Dan, for those who didn't make it for those who may not have been here last night, you want to announce about our special day?
Special day? Oh,
Gladney Day?
oh, you mean one day? Oh,
Yeah.
I could do that. Yes, you're right. For those of you who were not here last night, you know what? I put that up in my room.
Oh.
But we got a proclamation from the mayor of Fort Worth that today, July 24th, was designated as Gladney's in America Day. We have a proclamation. I'm sorry, I took it up in my room so it wouldn't get
No, okay.
damaged.
Good.
If you want to read it, I have it here on my phone.
Huh? You want to read it?
I don't know if I can read that phone. No, you can read it.
Thank you.
Store air, Gotta find it first. Always gotta find it.
Yeah.
Again. Okay, here's what it says. This is certificate of recognition. Gladney's in America Day in Fort Worth, Texas. Whereas descendants of Richard II and Jane Wilson Gladney were established November 7, 1977 in South Carolina as a nonprofit organization and have members recognized throughout this country, including Fort Texas. And whereas Gladney reunions are held annually and are important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life of our families and the communities, ensuring the health and well-being of all family members attending, and contributing to the history and tourism of a Gladney community, region, and state throughout our country. And whereas the Gladneys recognize the benefits of the Gladney Center for Adoption in Fort Worth through their resources to many American families and the policies established by Edna Gladney's efforts in the Texas legislation for adoptees' rights and her dedication in establishing better resources. Whereas the last Gladney reunion held in Fort Worth was in July 1990, the Gladneys in America are delighted to visit us again in their 44th year with 62 family members traveling from as far as California and South Carolina for the gathering held July 22nd through the 25th. Whereas Gladney reunions in Fort Worth increase the community's economic prosperity through increased tourism and local historical museums and numerous entertainment venues, hotel and restaurant revenues. Whereas our Gladney reunions enhance the genealogical roots of our historical family and community connections and communities, provide a place for children and adults to connect with other family members hosted by the Fort Worth family members and rational citizens. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the City of Fort Worth that July 24, 2021 is recognized as Gladney's America Day in Fort Worth, Texas, signed Matty Pocket, Mayor.
Yay!
Enjoy yourselves. That concludes.
Thank you, Daniel.
Everything I have.
Forgot one. Sitting by a red candle. If you're sitting by a red candle, there's something in front of you next to your boot. And that is your prize. There's some, if you have a red candle, there's some sitting in front of you while you're moving. There's a prize. Some tables have two. Okay, so like Janice, you get that cute little sign. That cute little sign is yours to take home. Yes, and Jim, there you go. So there's something, you get to take that home. Home sweet Texas.
Careful, you take fantasy.
Everybody has it.
What's on your
Keeping the heart of Texas, like perfume. Keeping the heart of Texas, reminds me of the one I love. Keeping the heart of Texas. Keeping the heart of Texas. Rush around the brush. Keeping the heart of Texas. Our boys from Gladney. Keeping the heart of Texas. No, he's gonna call it all. Keeping the heart of Texas. Keeping the heart of Texas. We're so glad y'all came to Texas. We'll have a technical
Awesome experience for me.
And for us, thank you.
So we all should listen, but I know that y'all want to get on the road. I want to get on the road. Some of you have flights to catch. And I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and I think making this a success. And next year we will be in Winsboro. And I really don't have much to say. You all know how I feel about you and glad you're here. And I think we're going to sing a song. Everybody got a copy? Who's leading this, Lynn?
I'm leading it. Because of time, I'm going to start from the beginning.
No, Glenn.
Some trails are happy ones, others are blue. It's the way you ride the trail that counts. Here's a happy one for you. Everybody, happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Dale Roy Rogers adopted 3 children. They were adopted.
Yeah, the
Y'all,
Gladney
last
Center, I
night-
think, was the highlight for me, other than your company.
Last
And-
night, Dale didn't get to introduce herself because she is from a different state. If she could just say something, you could say something.
She's the oldest here.
Okay. She's the oldest of our cousins that are here representing, and she's the reason that I got back involved.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. Her husband's name is Roy, so it's Dale and Roy, not Dale and Roy. Yeah. Right, yeah, Dale Evans is our third cousin. Second cousin twice removed. Yes, and so Mother always told us that she was our third cousin, and so that's why we sang Happy Trails. But so
I think the first time I met you and your cousin Sharon, this is Dale and Sharon. The name that popped into my mind was Del Shannon, the old singer. That's how I remembered your name.
Run around Sue.
So anyway, this is my last official function. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the new president. He will say a few words for us to close this out. John.
And I forgot to say last night when making the introductions, we're from Covington, Georgia. I think everybody's already learned that now, but I look forward to serving as your new president, and just hope that you'll all will need your help. I'm on a learning curve, and so there's so much that I'm not familiar with, and I don't want to step on toes or do something that's somebody says we've been doing it this way and it's not broke, don't fix it, and I understand that, so.
Just say ouch and you say I'm sorry.
But Dan asked me if I would say a few words and then close us in prayer, so. Oh.
We can sign that.
Presenting you with this.
Oh, well, thank you.
Outgoing president. And thank you for
thank you.
everything you do.
They did a fantastic job. This was just such a fun reunion, and thank you for bringing it home to Texas.
Right. Let's pray.
Okay.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we acknowledge that you're our Creator and our Redeemer, and we thank you so much for your goodness to us. We thank you for so many things we take for granted, and for our families, and just the temporal blessings in this life, Lord, and for just allowing us to meet family and make new friends. Lord, we just give you the praise and honor for this. We ask as we part company now that you would go with us and grant us traveling mercies, that you would help us to honor you in all that we do and say. We look forward to meeting again, Lord, next year, and pray that you would be with us, the Gladney family, as we seek to continue remembering our heritage and where we came from. Lord, we just give you thanks for this and ask all these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody, have a safe trip home. Love having you in Fort Worth. We'll see you in Winsboro. All right. Good to meet you, Brandon. You know, why is it that everybody says, very nice to meet you. We are going to be meeting Take care, darling.